The Pistons roster is now complete. We'll talk about Isaac Jones and how his addition affects the rest of the team in just a moment. Welcome back to the Pistons Jack YouTube channel. Today's episode, we'll talk about the Pistons' latest signing to their 15th roster spot and final roster spot, I should add, Isaac Jones. And we'll also briefly preview the Pistons' upcoming game against the Brooklyn Nets in Brooklyn as they look for potentially their 5th straight win. But first of all, Isaac Jones. Shams from ESPN tweeted out yesterday that the Pistons have claimed former Sacramento Kings center Isaac Jones off of free agency waivers. The second-year big man occupies the 15th roster spot. Now, I'll be honest, I've never heard of Isaac Jones, but before I get to some of my research, I was pleasantly surprised to see Kings fans and some of their media members talking very highly of Isaac. Matt George here, who I think hosts Locked On Kings, as well as some other Fox Sports stuff in Sacramento, said, good move by Detroit. Isaac Jones has a ton of upside. Not surprised at all to see someone get him. Al in Cal also tweeted out, would not be surprised if he becomes an impact role player off the bench for the Pistons, in brackets, I hope it happens. And then Nathan Grubel, apologies if I'm pronouncing that surname incorrect, but he's from No Ceilings, I believe. The NBA draft guys over there, they do awesome work. He said, Isaac Jones should have never been waived by the Kings. Productive, tough-minded big man. Versatile defensively, glad Detroit picked him up. So those are just some of the initial comments I saw when I first started just digging into, like, who is this guy? So that is some very positive feedback. There was also one final comment here from another Kings fan who said, really nice signing for Detroit. Jones will fit their culture. At least one of him and Tolu Smith should eventually emerge as a quality backup big. So when I did some digging into who is Isaac Jones, he's a 6'8". They have him listed as a power forward, but it sounds like he's been playing some center as well. He's 25 years old. He was on the Kings roster for 2 years, played sparingly, to be honest. Like, when you look at his NBA stats, they're not even really worth reading out because they're mostly just garbage time minutes. But in the G League last year, he averaged 21 and 10 and 1 block. He did that on pretty good efficiency, 57% from the field. Struggled from three, only 26%. And that's something when you dig into his game and read a bit about him, like the 3-point shots, what will kind of determine whether or not he can get a consistent role in the NBA or be on the fringes like he currently is. But he did have a really impressive summer league just gone in Vegas back in July. He might have been the Kings' best player because he put up 18.7 rebounds. And he shot 33% from three, which for him's an improvement, especially on last year. Small sample size, but overall, it sounds like, how can I put this? When the Pistons signed Javonte Green, knowing his background, it's like, yeah, he fits the culture. He's tough-minded. That's a guy JB Bickerstaff's going to love. And I can see why Trajan signed him. And Isaac Jones sounds like a very similar mold as like a tough-minded, versatile, defensive, athletic, bit of an undersized big, but sounds like he's going to fit the culture perfectly. His contract, so because the Pistons signed him off waivers, as the Kings waived him, you have to pick up what their existing contract was. So that's Kyle Metz, shout out to Kyle. He tweeted out that it's just under $2 million for this season. And that deal is fully non-guaranteed. So up until January 10th, the Pistons can waive him, cut him, whatever you want to call it. And I don't believe they'll have to pay him anything more than what they would have paid him for his last check, whether they get paid monthly or fortnightly, I don't know. But that deal does become fully guaranteed for the rest of the season on January 10th. So this is where the questions come in for, well, what about Malik? The Pistons don't have a roster spot for him anymore. Well, I personally don't think this affects the Malik situation at all. Like, if Malik is cleared and able to play in the NBA again and teams want to re-sign him or sign him to a deal, the Pistons, as much as it would suck for Isaac Jones, they could cut him before January 10th and they don't have to pay anything more because that deal's fully non-guaranteed. So I think the Pistons are seeing an opportunity here to sign a player that could afford them to change their rotation and give them some more depth in the front court, because we're going to talk about why they might have signed him because they already have Paul Reed, they have Tolu Smith on a two-way. Isaiah Stewart is traditionally their backup big, and then you have Jalen Duren. So signing a fourth center, or fifth really, if you include Tolu, doesn't make a lot of sense. But the reason I think, and I think a lot of fans are drawing conclusions that the Pistons have gone and signed another big, is because Isaiah Stewart could be becoming this team's future four-man, starting four, at least for this season, because we've seen him start in place for Tobias Harris in the past couple of games with Tobias being out, and the Pistons have won both games, of course. And when you look at some of the numbers, him and Jalen Duren, obviously they played a lot together in that dreadful season where they lost 28 in a row, but that was a different time. They were different players. This season, those two together on the court, the Pistons are a plus almost 20. They have an offensive rating of 119.7 and a defensive rating of 100 in 75 minutes across 7 games. So we still don't have massive sample sizes, but it's not like it's a 5-minute stretch. It's not like it's just the past 2 games. They've played some minutes together beyond just the last 2. And the results are pretty insane. And I believe the starting 5 of Cade, Asar, Duncan, plus those 2, they have like a crazy net rating of plus 30. So I don't even think this is a shot against Tobias, because I still actually think Tobias fits a bit better offensively at the 4 than maybe Stu does. But I think defensively is where the numbers are just completely different when Tobias isn't there, because Stu, what he brings defensively is just absolutely ridiculous. So I think, I'm not going to say this means Tobias is benched indefinitely. Like, I think they'll still give him a chance to start, but I think they're looking at these numbers, the coaching staff and front office, and being like, and they probably did this in training camp. This wouldn't be something completely new to them, but this is the first time they're getting to see it in real time action on the NBA floor, and the numbers are really convincing so far. So maybe this just means that we are going to see, maybe Tobias comes off the bench at some point, and even if he doesn't, maybe this just means Stu's going to play a lot of backup 4 minutes, and he's going to share the floor with JD a lot more, which means Paul Reed might need to step up, and he'll have more of a featured role as a backup center, which in turn opens up his position for someone like Isaac Jones. This could also just be like, let's take a look at him, let's say, like, and we might waive him before January 10th. But I think we are going to see more Stu at the 4, and if he's going to be playing more at the 4 and not at that backup 5 position, then you do kind of need to fill those minutes in case of injury or something like that. So that's really exciting, because I know I didn't expect these two, Jalen Duren and Stu, to look this good together and the results to be this good. So it still looks a bit clunky at times on offense, but like I said, just on the defensive side, which is what this team is built on and has been put together to thrive on, like, it's kind of undeniable how successful they've been. And I certainly didn't expect it. And I'm excited to keep seeing it, because we're going to get to see it today by the time you're watching this against the Nets, because Tobias is once again out. But the Pistons tonight play the Nets. First NBA Cup game in Brooklyn, I believe 7:30 p.m. tip-off Eastern. And when we look at the injury notes, Tobias is once again out with that sprained ankle. Marcus Sassa out with the hip soreness, I believe. Jaden Ivey obviously out. And then Karis LeVert's questionable now with knee soreness. So I think he was dealing with a hamstring, but now it's some knee soreness. So the Nets the Nets are a team you could rest players against. Because they are 1-7. They did just get their first win against the Pacers. So even the Nets, like I said, this is against the Jazz, I still just don't think at this stage of the year any game's going to be an absolute, walk in the park. I think teams, while they're still relatively healthy, fresh, motivated, it's still going to be, close throughout this game. The Pistons should definitely win though. Like, the Nets will be without Cam Thomas. Like, he's definitely out. Terrence Mann, another one of their starters, is game time decision. And they're also missing a couple of other players in Drake Pell and Haywood Highsmith. So their main player is obviously Michael Porter Jr. He's averaging 22 points. But I think the Pistons should cover the Nets. Like, this shouldn't, even if this is close to halftime, kind of like a 5-point ball game in the third, like, this is a game I expect the Pistons to win by 10 to 15 in the end. it'd be nice if you could get the starters some rest and Cade some rest in the fourth, even at this early part of the year, and they win by 20 plus. But I still just think this time of the year, I wouldn't be surprised if it's closer than we all expect. So, like the Nets, honestly, they're 24th in offense, 30th in defense, 26th in three-point percentage, and 27th in points in the paint. Like the Pistons right now are third in defense and one of the best rebounding teams and the number one team for points in the paint. So Pistons should dominate this inside. The three-point shooting shouldn't be too much of a factor, although you never know what the variance can be with that. But overall, like, I expect just an all-around team performance. I don't think this will be a night where Cade scores 40 or I think this will be a game where multiple guys potentially score 18 to 25 and it's just an all-round team performance. So should be a fun game. I don't have a whole lot more to add, but the Pistons, like I said, this is an NBA Cup game, and to make it to Las Vegas, you pretty much need to go 4-0 in your stage at bare minimum. So they need to win, and I believe from memory, margin does count in this. So a blowout win would be awesome. These are the games where teams will try and rack up points at the end. So if there's going to be a game the Pistons go hard in, be this game, because it could have implications for them potentially getting to the final rounds of the NBA Cup, which I think we'd all love to see, even though it still doesn't mean the most in the world to win the NBA Cup. But should be a fun game. Quick scheduling note, Tom Herr, Korea Pistons fan, are launching our new show directly after the Nets game tonight or tomorrow, depending on when you're watching this. So I've posted a video across all my social channels with some information, but if you need any info, have any questions, please shoot me a DM or that kind of thing. But hopefully see all of you there. This is going to be a lot of fun. But until then, as always, go Pistons.